you are having a good day so far. So, today we will be doing our grade 4 English lesson on irregular past tense. So, we're going to be doing our grade 4 English lesson on irregular past tense. And before we start with our lesson on irregular past tense, we're going to log into a+students.ca. Once we've logged into a+students.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts. And then grade 4. All right, so once we've selected the subject of language arts, grade 4, then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter which is irregular past tense. So we are doing the lesson of irregular past tense, grade 4, and it is English language arts. All right, so our chapter is irregular past tense, subject is English language arts, grade 4, and the lessons that we are focusing on today under the chapter of irregular past tense is to identify the irregular past tense. And we're also going to form and use irregular past tense, and there's going to be set 1 and set 2. And we are doing this lesson on a+students.ca. This tutorial lesson is on a+students.ca. So if you do want to go back, recap, go over the work, also follow with us as we are doing the lesson, and then it is on a+students.ca. Is that screen better now? Or is it still blurry? Still blurry? I don't know why. Okay. I'm gonna check now why it's a bit blurry. It's maybe the font. All right. Okay, so when it comes to the irregular past tense, right? So if we identify something as in the past tense, right, then it means that it happened already. I don't know how to get it off from it being blurry. I'm trying to. I'm not sure if it's the font. Still blurry. All right. I do apologize for it being blurry. We are not going to be on this page for very long, and then we're going to the A plus students.ca page. Right. So I apologize for this. But this basically just shows the chapter, which is irregular past tense, the subject, which is English language arts, grade 4, and the lessons that we are focusing on is to identify irregular past tense, as well as to form and use irregular past tense. And we said most verbs are regular in the past tense. So it's like if we make mention of regular past tense, then the rule is usually to either add an ed or a d to the word, right? So if I watch a movie now, but earlier on or yesterday, I watched a movie. So with regular past tense, we usually just add a we usually just add ed. So regular past tense, right? We usually add ed. So which means that now I watch something, but in the past I watched a movie, right? Today I laugh at your joke, but yesterday I laughed at your joke, right? So that is regular past tense. But now we are specifically looking at irregular past tense, right? Irregular past tense. And with irregular past tense, there is no rule like either adding an ed or d to the end of that word, right? With irregular past tense, you are just going to have to know what the tense is. So some verbs are irregular in the past tense. That means you don't have to follow a rule. Instead, you're just going to have to remember the past tense form. For example, so it's almost like the word kind of changes. So with irregular past tense, we maybe have a word like begin, right? What do you think can be the past tense of begin, the irregular past tense? Do we say beginned, right? So basically, you don't say beginned. So the irregular past tense of begin is began, right? So which means that the one letter changed within that word. Because now, because now we are not following a rule like ed or just adding a d. So the word kind of changes. The same with make. I make my bed now. But this morning, I what my bed. Or I make myself a sandwich now. And earlier on, you what? Do we say I make or I make it? What do we say? So which means that the irregular past tense of make is made. So I make myself a sandwich now, but in the past, I made myself a sandwich. I the glass, I break the glass, right? Or the plate. Earlier on, I broke the plate. So can you see how the word changes, right? The word then changes. Um, it's either certain letters changes or the word basically just changes, and it's not the same as the regular past tense where we just add a D or we just add an ED to change the tense of that verb. So that is basically examples of irregular past tense. And we said that some of the verbs are irregular in the past tense. And that means that you don't have to follow a rule, like, for example, adding D or an ED to the end of that verb. Instead, when it comes to irregular past tense, you must remember the past tense form of the verb. You are going to have to know and remember the past tense form of the verb. We said that our lesson is on aplusstudents.ca. So let us go to our tutorial lesson, which is aplusstudents.ca, and we are going to identify the irregular past tense. All right, so if we identify the irregular past tense, right? Most verbs are regular in the past tense. That means you follow a rule like ed or d to get the past tense form of the verb, right? And we made an example of watch, watched, laugh, laughed, right? And that is in the past tense, where we basically just added an ed to show the past tense form of that verb, right? So that was the rule, just adding an ed to the regular past tense or to the regular verb. But now when it comes to irregular past tense, right? The verbs are irregular in the past tense, which means that we do not follow a certain rule. So when it comes to the irregular past tense, you are just going to have to remember the past tense form because, like we said, it's either certain letters changes or the word changes of that specific verb, right? And we made an example of when, like, break, and I break something now, but earlier on I broke something. Find. If you look at the word find, if you look at the word find, what do you think is the past tense? What do you think is the past tense or the irregular past tense of find? I find my toy now. Earlier on, I what the toy? Find. Yes, so the irregular past tense of that verb is found, right? So do you see that we do not just add an ed or d to that verb? It changes. It's like the letters or certain words or certain letters in that word, it changes, right? So found, and found is correct. The same with come. I come home. Earlier on, I am home from school. Come home. What is the irregular past tense of come? And yes, the irregular past tense of come is came, and came is correct. Came, right? So came is correct. So we don't say I comed, right? That is not correct. That is incorrect, right? So when it comes to the irregular past tense, we are just going to have to remember what the past tense form is. And in this case, find is the present tense and found is in the past tense. Come is now, came was in the past tense. So that is an example of the irregular past tense. So now we're going to go to our activities, right? Which sentence is in the past tense? If we look at the sentence, I teach my brother the game. I teach my brother the game. How do you think this word is going to change? I teach my brother the game. What would be the past tense form of teach? The irregular past tense form of teach. So the irregular past tense of teach yes, sorry. Yes, it is taught. So taught, and taught is correct. Remember, we do not add the ed. The ed is for a regular past tense. So taught. So taught is correct, right? So I teach my brother the game. Like now I teach him the game. Yesterday I taught him the game, right? So taught is correct. Taught is our irregular past tense. Aunt Anna feeds the chickens. Feeds. What is the past tense or the irregular past tense of feeds? Feeds. Aunt feeds the dog. The chickens. She what the chickens yesterday. Yeah, so if we feed chickens now, then earlier on or in the past, we fed chickens. And fed is our irregular past tense. So feeds is the present tense, and fed is the irregular past tense. So yeah, so well done. Breaks. Breaks. Raymond's favorite toy breaks. Raymond's favorite toy breaks. What is the past tense of breaks? Raymond's favorite toy breaks. Breaks. We need to find the past tense form of breaks. In the past, his toy. All right, so if Raymond's favorite toy breaks, right, then we can say that in the past, his favorite toy broke. Right, so his favorite toy broke. And broke is the past tense form of that verb, which is breaks. So broke is the past tense. Yes. All right, so that is the an example, or that is basically examples and as well as descriptions of the past tense form, right? The irregular past tense form. And we said with the irregular past tense, there is no rule that you need to follow, right? It's not like the regular past tense where you add an ed or d. We don't just add ed or d to the word in order to change the form or the tense of that specific verb. right? But when it comes to irregular past tense, you're going to have to remember the past tense form of the verb because there's no rules to follow. All right, let's go to our test. Which sentence is in the past tense? We need to say which sentence is in the past tense. Is it option one, we meet our new neighbors? Or option two, we met our new neighbors? Is it meet or is it met? The past tense. All right, so if we select the sentence that is in the past tense, then we can say we met our new neighbors. So well done. Option two is correct. So met our neighbors in we met our neighbors. Which sentence is in the past tense? The player catches the fast ball or the player caught the fast ball. We need to say which sentence is in the past tense. Is it catches or caught? Catches or caught? So the player catches the fastball or the player caught the fastball. Is it option one or is it option two? All right, so if we select the correct sentence, and then we can say the player caught. Yes, so well done. The second option is correct. The player caught the fast ball. So well done. Caught is correct. Carrots grew in my garden. So carrots grew in my garden. Or is it carrots grow in my garden? So carrots grew in my garden or carrots grow in my garden. So we need to choose the correct option. Either carrots grew in my garden or carrots grow in my garden. All right, so if we select the correct sentence, which is in the past tense, then we can say carrots grew in the gardens, and grew is correct. So well done. Grew is correct. Which sentence is in the past tense? So which sentence is in the past tense? Is it that store sells fresh flowers or that store sold fresh flowers? So is it the store sells fresh flowers or sold fresh flowers? All right, so we can then say sold, right? Sell is something that you're doing now, so we can then say the store sold. Yes, well done. Sold is the correct answer. So well done. Option two or sold is our correct answer. They shoot rifles in the movie, or they shot rifles in the movie. They shoot rifles in the movie, or they shot rifles in the movies. Is it option one, which is shoot, or option two, which is shot? Rifles in the movies. All right, so if we select the correct sentence, we say they shot rifles in the movies. And well done, shot is correct. All right, so now we're going on to the next lesson, which is to form and use the irregular past tense, which is set 1. So we're going to form and use the irregular past tense. And remember, we said that with the irregular past tense, there is no rule that we need to follow. There's no rule like adding ed, and there's no rule like adding d, right? You're just going to have to remember the past tense form of the verb, right? And we made a few example of break, and we said the past tense of break is broke. Past tense of find is found. Past tense of come is came. Of feed is fed. Of shoot is shot. So that has been the activity as well as the examples that we made, right? So it's like the word changes. Even if you look at this example, right, which says Jacob lost his key. So lost is the irregular past tense form of lose. If you lose something, so you lose in the past, but I lost. I lose something now, I lost um the keys. All right, let's go to our next activity. It says complete the sentence with the verb in the past tense. I pay for 10 stamps. Pay, like I pay now. But in the past, I pay now. In the past, we what? The 10 stamps. Pay. How is that word going to change? Pay. So if we write down the correct sentence, we will then say paid. So paid is correct, but there we have the spelling of paid. But well done. Paid is correct. So paid. So I pay for 10 stamps. I paid for 10 stamps. So paid is correct. Anthony bent over to tie his shoe. Anthony bent over to tie his shoe. Bend. So bend. What is the past tense form of bend? Anthony bent over to tie his shoes. Or we can say Anthony over to tie his shoes. How are we going to change that word to the past tense? Bend. Remember, we do not add an ed. We don't add an ed. Bend. All right, so if we choose or we complete the sentence with the verb in the past tense, then we say Anthony bent over tie his shoes. Bent. He bent over to tie his shoes. So bent is our irregular past tense verb. So bent. And the word bent is our irregular past tense verb. There we have a word bent. Remember, we do not add ed because ed is the regular past tense. Jackie bent down to pick a flower. Bend. Here we have it again. Bend. Jackie bent down to pick a flower. Bend. All right, so we can then say Jackie in the Jackie bent, but in the past, Jackie bent down to pick a flower. Bent. All right. So now we are going to our test, right? Where we are going to form and use irregular past tense. And this is where we need to basically change the word. We are changing the word. Complete the sentence with the verb in the past tense. Abe paid the water bill on the first of the month. Pay. Is it paid or pay? Abe paid the water bill on the first of the month. Pay. If we change that word, if we complete the sentence with the verb in the past tense, do we say it's paid or pay in the past tense? All right, so if we select the correct option, we can say A paid the water bill on the first of the month. So first, so just paid. Anthony bent over to tie his shoes. Bend. Is it bent or bend? Bent or bend? So bend. Is it bent or bend? Anthony bent over to tie his shoes. This is in the past tense. All right, so if we select the sentence with the all right, so we can then say bent, and bent is correct. Anthony bent over to tie his shoes. Bent. Lucy spent 3 hours at the museum. Lucy spent 3 hours at the museum. So Lucy spent 3 hours at the museum. Spend. Is it spends, which is option one? or spent, which is option 2, which is the past tense. Do we say Lucy spends 3 hours at the museum, or Lucy spent 3 hours at the museum? All right, so if we select the correct sentence, then we can say Lucy spent 3 hours at the museum. Spent. And spent is correct. All right, so complete the sentence with the verb in the past tense. Have you sell your house yet? Have you sell your house yet? Is it sells or sold? So sells or sold. Have you sold your house yet, or have you sell your house yet? All right, so we can then say, have you sold your house yet? Sold. The cat sleep or slept in the sun. The cat sleep or slept in the sun. So the cat sleeps in the sun, or the cat slept in the sun. All right. So the cat, we didn't say the cat slept in the sun. Slept in the sun. All right. So that is forming and using the irregular past tense set 1. Now we're going on to the second set, which to form and use irregular past tense. And we said an irregular past tense, it does not follow any rules. We don't have to add ed or d in order to complete a word, right? So you're just going to have to remember the past tense form of the verb. All right, so now let's look at the first question. It says complete the sentence with the verb in the past tense. During the spring run, during the spring, during the spring rains, the water, do we say rise in the weather, in the river, sorry. So during the spring rains, the water rise in the river. So rise, what do you think is the irregular past tense of rise? So rise. All right, so if we look at the The correct past tense for rise, and then we can say it is rose. So rose. And rose is our past tense form of rise. So rose is correct. All right, we need to change the word right. Lamont write a song about falling in love. Lamont write a song about falling in love. Right. But in the past, he what? If you write the song now, in the past, yes, we can say he wrote a song. And wrote is our past tense of write. So write is wrote, right? And then we also said the little girl, write a name. She wrote her name. All right, so now we're going to our test, also where we form and use irregular past tense. I write a secret message for my sister. I write a secret message for my sister. Is it wrote, which is the first option, or is it write, the second option? So do we say I wrote a secret message to my sister, or I write a secret message for my sister? All right, so if we select the correct word in the sentence, we can say I wrote a secret message for my sister. So wrote is correct. So well done, wrote is correct. Lexi ring Seth's doorbell. Lexi ring Seth's doorbell. Ring. Ring. What is the past tense of ring? So ring. Lexi ring Seth's doorbell. All right, so we can then say Lexi rang Seth's doorbell. All right, let's do the last one. The stray kitten become a new pet or became a new pet? So the stray kitten become a new pet. So we need to change that word become. Is it still become or is it became? All right. So we can say that the stray kitten became. The stray kitten became a new pet. And became, yes, well done. Became is our correct sentence. All right, so grade fours, that is now the end of our lesson on irregular past tense. And remember, we said with irregular past tense, there's no rule that you need to follow, like adding ed or adding d to your verb, right? The verb basically changes, right? But you need to know when it comes to irregular past tense, you basically just need to know the the verb in the past tense basically is, or how it, or what it's going to change to. All right, so that is the end of our lessons, grade 4. Thank you very much for joining our class, and I do hope that you're going to have an amazing evening further. Goodbye.